Hey everyone, my name is Danny and welcome to Something Like a Star, and today we are going on a field trip. I just got back from day 3 of the Friends of the Library annual book sale. The Friends of the Library is a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving access to library services and just bonded together over a love of books. And every year, at least in my town, they put on a book sale as a fundraiser for the library. They bring in deaccessioned library books and people bring in their own books to donate, and they put them all in this giant expo center sort of room, and there's a 3-day sale where you can go. And the first couple of days, things are sold at a reduced price. But day 3, which is my favorite day, you get as many brown paper sacks as you like, and as many of those as you'd like to fill. Each bag costs you $6. I got a lot of books, but I did better than last year. I did much better than last year. Last year I came away with 49 books. This year I only came away with 27 books, so I did much better, partially because I knew I was moving and I don't know what I'm going to do with all of these books. So without further ado, here's my library book sale haul. Right, this first stack is the ones that I bought on the first 2 days. They're the books that I bought at the reduced price, but not the super cheap price. I got 9 books for a grand total of $13.50. The first book I got was Rick Riordan's Sea of Monsters. I do not actually own any other Percy Jackson books, but I read the first one during Dewey's Readathon in April, and I'm kind of ashamed that I haven't read them before, so I picked up the second one so that I could keep going on the series. The next book I picked up is A Tale of Despero. This book is by Kate DiCamillo and illustrated by Timothy Basil Eyring. I have read this book before. I've also seen the movie, but I don't remember very much, and I figured, hey, a copy that I don't have. The next book I picked up was called Lysistrata. It's actually one of the few remaining Greek plays. It's by Aristophanes, and this one is one I've been wanting to read for a while. It's a comedy. It's a comedy that follows a bunch of Greek women whose husbands have gone off to war. They don't like this. They think the war's been going on too long, so they go on a sex strike. They stop performing sexual favors until the men agree to come home. And it sparks off a sort of men versus women battle, and it's just really supposed to be hysterical, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. The next 2 books I got are vaguely related together, not because they are from the same series or author, but because of these funky covers. So I got Stephen Chbosky's A Perks of Being a Wallflower and Ransom Riggs' Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Both of these are books I've wanted to read for quite some time, but you'll notice the covers are a little bit different. They are labeled World Book Night US, April 23rd, 2014. And I had to read the inside, but the inside here tells all about what this is. So essentially, every year, one night a year, this group of volunteers, this nonprofit organization, gets together and hands out specially covered books to light readers and non-readers in over 6,200 towns across the United States. Other than the cover, they're exactly the same inside. This is Miss Peregrine's, and so you can see it's still got all of the pictures and stuff going on in it. So I don't anticipate a different experience read. It's a slightly different cover, but you can still see the original covers on them, and they were really cheap. So I'm excited to read these finally. The next book I got because I've been reading a lot of this author lately, and I know it's a talked about book on YouTube, and I know that a lot of people who read it didn't like it, but a lot of people who read The Raven Cycle didn't like it, and I'm loving it. So I thought I would give Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater a shot. I will probably not get to it anytime soon. I'm still reading Blue Lily Lily Blue, but I do hope to get to this one eventually. I've really enjoyed The Raven Cycle, so I hope that I enjoy this one. The next book is a book of collected poems by Emily Dickinson. I have read some Emily Dickinson before. I have some in my anthology of American poetry. I don't particularly care for her poetry, but I just couldn't resist this book. It's so pretty. The spine are so pretty, and everything is gold leaf, and it's got this fun gold bookmarker, and so it has, it's just a pretty copy of a book. The next book I got is A Complete and Unabridged 5 Novels in a Row by Ursula Le Guin. I have read Ursula K. Le Guin once. I've read one of her books. I read it for a fiction class. I very much enjoyed it, but it's not usually a book that I would go out of my way to purchase. So when I saw the 5 complete novels in one, I picked it up and thought, I have to give this a go. I want to give her more of a shot and just explore more of her world building. I think it's awesome. The final book I got in the first and second day haul is Stephen King's Under the Dome. The only thing I know about this is that there is a mini TV series. I saw the commercials for it when it was going on a while back, but I've never read any Stephen King. I've never read Under the Dome in particular. It's a very hefty read, so I don't know when I'm going to get around to it. But at $1.75, it was a steal, so I picked it up, and I look forward to reading this in the future. So the next books that I got are all books that I got today on day 3 of the sale. It's called the Brown Bag Day. You get handed a brown paper sack like you'd use at the grocery store, and you can fill it with as many things as you like. It doesn't have to be books. They also sell puzzles and magazines. So as many things as you can fit in this brown bag for $6 per brown bag. I was really good. Last year, like I said, I came home with several different bags. This year I only brought home 1. The guy behind me checking out brought home 15. So without further ado, okay, let's get started. So the first book that I've got here is The Ballad of West 10th Street by Marjorie Kernan. I don't really know what most of the books in this bag are about because I've only read 2 of them and I kind of judged by the covers. It's about a group of children who sort of muddle along in a dysfunctional household, and then a southerner shows up and helps them out, and it's supposed to be heartwarming and cute. I just think the cover is very pretty. The next book that I got is The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie. Again, I don't really know what this one is about. The cover kept standing out to me. They had several of these throughout, and this one in particular just kept popping out to me. I think because it's a bright lime green, and that's one of my favorite colors. So it's supposed to be about a girl who lives in a sort of dilapidated mansion and is an aspiring chemist and is intrigued by all this stuff that keeps happening. There's a dead bird followed by a postage stamp that's bizarrely pinned to some of her stuff, and then it concludes with a gentleman who she stumbles across in her garden while he's taking his dying breath. That's all I've got, but that seems like plenty enough to go on for me. The next book is one of the 2 that I have read before. It's called Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer. I read this one while I was in Orlando. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I saw a copy at the book sale, had to grab it because I don't actually own it. I had checked it out from the library previously. The next book is Tara Road by Mauve Binchy. I believe that's how you say her name. And it's about a woman in New England and a woman in Ireland who do a house swap for the summer just to get away from their own lives and end up living each other's lives. Next I have Molokai. I think that's how you, Molokai. I'm tempted to say Molokai and that's wrong. Molokai. And it's about a woman who lives in Hawaii who contracts a infectious disease and is quarantined on the island of Molokai, and how she thinks her life is over and how she gets on from this point. Again, just a really pretty cover. I'm excited to read. Next we have the Spellman Files. It's supposed to be a sort of a Nancy Drew kind of mystery. Next is Circles of Stone. This one is by Joan Dyer Lambert, and it follows several generations of women. I really like stories that follow generations of women, so I'm looking forward to this one, but this one's a little bit different because it's not grandma, mom, daughter, granddaughter. It follows 3 wise women in a village, and they're like 5,000 years or so apart. So it's 3 generations, but 3 very different generations. And this really cool, it's a textured cover, so this is very smooth, and this is very much kind of ridged like rock. This next book I actually got because my friend Chelsea lives in Maine, and I always now am attracted to books that talk about Maine because I think of her every time I see them. This book is, again, a Generations of Women book. It follows these 3 women, 3 women who are going to this cottage as kind of as a getaway in Maine, and it follows their story. The next book is Amy Tan's The 100 Secret Senses. Oh, I think I bent the bottom. I have several Amy Tan books. I've only ever read one by her, and every time I pick up a new one, I'm like, oh, I should read all the other ones I have. And I haven't done it yet, but I just couldn't pass up this cover. It's so pretty. It's got the blue, like the skies, and then it has believe they're birds of paradise down here. I'm not really up on my bird knowledge, but really colorful, pretty birds down here at the bottom, and that's the whole cover. So hopefully I will read more Amy Tan soon and have a better formed opinion. This next book jumped right off the table at me because the cover is really haunting. It's called Annabelle. It's by Kathleen Winter, and it follows a kid who is born intersexed, whose parents choose to raise as male, whose mother and aunt secretly nurture the feminine side of them. And it follows this child's story kind of through discovery across the spectrums of gender, what they eventually decide, what happens when they move out from the hometown and start exploring gender on their own. And this is going to be a really poignant read, but it's one that I'm really looking forward to. This one is called The Flapper's Vixen. It is a really kind of lighthearted story that follows these teenagers in the 1920s through their stories. The end. That's all that I gathered from it. But it's like gold and embossed on this cover. This book, my dad has informed me, is part of a trilogy, but this is the first one. I did not know that. I actually don't really know anything about what it's about, except that it's called Magic Kingdom for Sale, and as somebody who worked at Magic Kingdom Disney, I thought that was hysterical. And even the premise of a Magic Kingdom that you can go in and buy and then have all these problems with is such a fun premise. And so this is one I'll probably read sooner rather than later. Another trade paperback I picked up is this Anne McCaffrey book. It's the Dragon Harper from the Dragon series, and it takes place in Pern. I actually read almost all of Anne McCaffrey's Pern books when I was in middle school, but I haven't had the chance to read them since, and I really enjoyed them then. So I'm looking forward to revisiting this world. It's something I've been meaning to do for quite some time. So hopefully it's one of the good ones. My dad also owns some more of the Anne McCaffrey series, so I'll probably visit hers this summer as well. This next book is pure silliness. It may be good, it may not, but it's called Lonely Werewolf Girl. It's by Martin Miller, and it says it's an expansive tale of werewolves in the modern world. Troubled teenage werewolves, friendly werewolves, homeless werewolves, fashionista werewolves, warriors, punks, cross-dressers, an entire clan of werewolves, getting in trouble from the Scottish Highlands to London, and in several dimensions beyond. So anyone who is friends with me in real life knows that I am obsessed with Teen Wolf, and therefore anything that talks about werewolves makes me very happy. So this is sort of a big novel. This review is really fun too. Imagine Kurt Vonnegut reading Marvel Comics with the Clash thrashing in the background. It's also got a review by Neil Gaiman, and it says, I don't understand why Martin Miller isn't as celebrated as Kurt Vonnegut, as rich as Terry Pratchett, as famous as Douglas Adams. I've been a fan of his work for almost 20 years. Again, probably one I'll read this summer because it looks really fun. I might read it in celebration of Teen Wolf coming out next week. Okay, next I have Terry McMillan's The Interruption of Everything. The name sounds so familiar. This author's name sounds so familiar, but I read the list of his books in the front and I have never read any of them, so I don't know. I guess it follows a housewife who gets sort of bored with her life and takes off on a road trip. That's all I know. But again, the cover is very fun. It's this really sassy looking woman who's like, yeah, I'm out. Peace. I'm tired of everything. So I'm leaving everything and I'm going on a road trip. This next book is the only other book in this entire haul that I've previously read. It's called The Belgariad. This is volume 1. There's actually 5 books over the 2 volumes, and then the second set of volumes is called The Malloreon. But this is the first 3 books. I have read this one. I read it when I was in Orlando and had to leave this and the Belgariad Part 2 behind because I didn't have room for it when I was moving back. So I saw this. I still have the Malloreon in my bookshelf in my closet and I've been meaning to read it, but I really was glad to see this. These are kind of expensive books. I know that he's a little bit of a legend in fantasy and world building, so I was really glad to recover one of my 2 lost volumes. Hopefully I can find Part 2 soon. Got a small towering Pisa. Look at this. Look at this. Yep, a small towering leaning Pisa of books, and there are still more. Now I've really screwed everything up. Okay. I'm at the bottom of the bag now. Just got 2 more. The first one is called The Singing. It's by Alison Croghan. Croghan? And I am I am losing my mind because I don't know where I know this book from. I think that I've read the first 3 in this and that I own the second one. But when I think about those books that I think I read, I think it's a different author. But like Pelennor sounds very familiar as a world, and Hem is one of the main characters. Again, sounds very familiar. And the cover looks a lot like the second one that I own. So I grabbed it on the hope that it's the same. I don't know. I may end up getting rid of it because I don't want a 4th book that I've never read, but hopefully it's the right series that I'm thinking of. And finally, the very last book in this haul is T.A. Barron's The Merlin Effect. I have read almost all of T.A. Barron's books. I have actually met T.A. Barron in person. He is an absolute sweetheart. I was juggling a lot of bags the day that I met him, and so he signed my copy of Atlantis Rising, and in the shuffle to grab all my bags when I was leaving, I forgot it behind, and he went on kind of a witch hunt on the internet to find me. He was really distraught that I'd left it behind, and so I had all these friends texting me like, "Hey, is T.A. Barron talking about you on his Facebook? Are you the Danica he's talking about?" And yeah, it was me. I was so excited to meet him. I really, really love his Lost Years of Merlin series, and the audiobooks in particular are very, very good. That was kind of the background soundtrack of my adolescence, so he was really lovely to meet, and this is one of the few books of his that I have not read. So there you have it. In the end, I got a grand total of 27 books for $19.50, which is a truly incredible price, especially considering that a lot of these books go for $30 on their own. It was extensive, I know, and it's also about to fall down beside me, so I'll probably wrap this up very quickly so I can safe keep all of these. But if you have library book sales in your hometown, I would love to hear about it. I know that not every library does them, but I am very lucky to live in a city that currently does, and it sells about 150,000 books a year. So it's a wonderful opportunity. It's very much my favorite event of the year, and now my TBR pile is even taller. Even taller. I am never going to ever get through my TBR pile, but that's okay because I've got a lot of pretty covers that can line my bookshelves in Seattle now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Today's song of the day is Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding because it has come on the radio an excessive amount of times today. And I'll see you guys next week.